A huge welcome to all of our listeners. The time is 2 o'clock and you're now listening to Upstart Live. You may be noticed that Naim Kurt's voice has got us a weeny bit higher, and you'd be right, because I'm not Naim. My name is Matt Coburn, and I'll be your new host for the next few weeks, following on the wonderful work that Naim Kurt has done. I'm joined by Alana Mazurik. What's been happening, Alana?
Hey Matt, I'm excited to have a new co-host with me. Thank you to Kurt for all of his work, but yeah, I'm really excited to
Super excited to be
do
here.
the show with you. And also coming up on the show, we spoke to Dane Roy, who by kicking a 73-metre torp has won himself a scholarship in Houston for $250,000. So we spoke to him about his first ever game playing in front of 70,000 people, which is coming up. But yeah,
That's a good business model.
Yeah, very excited.
We broadcast live at 2 p.m. every Tuesday, and you can catch us on upstart.net.au, or if you're listening to this at La Trobe, we are on the big screen in the Agora. Coming up, we have a packed show where Kyle Humphries is in the studio to talk about the shift in youth unemployment, while Rachel Roberts is beginning a 2-part series this week on things people look down on in society. Today we have bin diving, and next week she'll discuss squatting. But first we have Alana with the headlines.
Thanks, Matt. So, an Afghan-born American man suspected of carrying out the New York City bombing that injured 29 people on Saturday has been arrested after a shootout with police and has been charged with attempted murder. Ahmad Khan Rahami, who is also suspected of planning other bombs in New Jersey, was taken into custody hours after authorities publicly identified him as the prime suspect of the Manhattan blast. Officials sent out an alert to millions of mobile phone users describing the 28-year-old from Elizabeth, New Jersey, as armed and dangerous. Police in Linden, about 32 kilometres outside New York, captured Rahami after responding to a complaint by a bar owner of a man sleeping in the closed establishment's hallway. Rahami fired on police cars, injuring an officer with broken glass that struck his forehead, but police fired back, wounding Rahami in the arm and leg. He is now in hospital and his condition is not considered life-threatening. The deaths of 17 Indian soldiers near the border with Pakistan has raised fears simmering conflict between the two nuclear-armed rivals is again escalating. Pakistan denied any involvement, but observers believed it was likely aimed at drawing international attention to unrest in Kashmir. India's army said the militants who attacked at its base at Uri, southwest of Kashmir's capital Srinagar, were using Pakistani weapons. It said the 4 men struck before dawn and most of the 17 soldiers were trapped in burning tents. 30 more were injured. 8 children are among 36 people who were killed in a Taliban suicide bomb attack on a mosque in northwest tribal Pakistan. The attack that happened on Friday targeted a mosque in Mohammed tribal district bordering Afghanistan, where the army has been fighting against Taliban militants. Many children were hit in the blast because they were playing in the last rows in the mosque where the bomber struck. Taliban faction Jamaat-ul-Ahrar claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was carried out to avenge the deaths of 13 of its members and arrests of others by a local vigilante force in 2009. So not some very good news there, but positive that they caught the bomber today. That came out about 4 hours ago. So
It's pretty horrible things happening in the world.
yeah, so to get to some better news, perhaps.
Kyle. It's not positive news as such.
Well, no, it's the figures are actually quite disturbing. Kyle, you've got a story with us for us on youth unemployment.
Yeah, despite youth unemployment across the nation being higher than it's ever been, many of today's young people are choosing lives with unemployment. To break this down, I've researched some things about it and sort of got my take on it. So, the 2 girls were aged 21 and 17 from a suburb called Mount Druitt in Sydney. They were offered jobs at their local McDonald's and they turned them down and they were interviewed for it. So there's been all kinds of little stats and things coming out of it. So
it's a shame that the rate of jobless youth in Australia is only going up. I mean, the monthly figures are rising.
Yeah, there's 280,000 youth unemployment in total, which works out to be around 14%, I think,
Yeah.
of the
13
nation.
I've got 13.5%.
So
in the
yeah,
year.
of the 40 of the 580,000 people unemployed, 41% of them don't want to work,
Yeah.
and the other 19% are waiting for a job to fall in their lap. So it's effectively 60% of the youth unemployment is due to lack of care.
So that's
to get
what
a
they're
job.
calling themselves, aren't they? The neat.
Yeah, NEET.
banner.
What's it stand for? The where do I put it? It's confusing. Not employed.
employed.
In
Educated.
education
And not
and
looking
in
for
training. It's
training.
actually an acronym that's come from Britain, which has found its way over here. So
Mm.
And these people choose this life instead of...
yeah, they're choosing this life. And these girls who have been interviewed have since had their Centrelink payments revoked.
Yes.
So they are currently earning or receiving $0 a fortnight, which they can't really live their lives doing that. And
I don't know how they live their lives on the New Start allowance
yeah,
anyway.
well, for me, while we get
Oz
the
study.
same being the Oz study,
Mm.
which is the same price, $489 plus rent assistance, and half of that goes to rent, and then your bills, and then petrol, parking at
just life
universities. Not
expen-
true.
yeah,
The
just
Macca's
life
job
expenses.
isn't looking too bad at this point.
Yeah, the Macca's job's looking pretty
As a person
good.
working
so-
at Macca's, it ain't that bad. I don't to get this whole stigma with it.
I don't think it was what it was. I think it was just a job.
Just didn't wanna work
They
in
just
general.
didn't want to work.
I
so.
think that's where the backlash came from, that they were openly saying that they didn't want work and
Yeah.
weren't going to look for work. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of youth unemployed out there who are actively looking for work, and it's sad that they're struggling to get a job. But what these girls have shown the public now is that there is quite a few youth out there who are quite happy not working and doing nothing with their
Yeah.
lives and not training or getting any education.
And it can lead to other issues too, like sitting around doing nothing for too long. People can get depressed or have all kinds of mental illness troubles in the future. We don't know yet. Obesity issues with just sitting around. It'll have a flow-on effect through sort of government housing. They'll be clogging up government housing when they don't need to be there. There'll be things that will have a flow-on effect if this doesn't stopped on the head.
I found it an interesting figure I found on the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence, who do amazing work with unemployed children and families in Australia. 13.7% in the Northern Territory was the hotspot for youth unemployment in the Northern Territory. In Melbourne, it's 17.3%. That blows my mind that of the outback region and yes, the figures of people in the areas are quite different. But I mean, you look at 19.4% in South Australia, 19.6% in Tasmania. I mean, for a city with the amount of people that we have and the population and the amount of businesses that we have, it's just staggering that we're up to 17.3% in Melbourne.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a culture thing with the way we sort of think. We don't want to do those cleaning jobs. We don't want to do the garbage collecting.
It's a different change of mental state, because I got my first job when I was 14 because I wanted to go to the movies and my mum wasn't going to give me $20 to go see a movie every week. So, all right, I'll get a job. It's just...
Yeah, 14 and 9 months for me, exact same thing. Because you don't want to be relying on your parents for everything.
No.
So this whole concept of just not wanting to work at all is just mind-blowing.
And I thought it was hard to get a job at the Dole. I thought you had to do all these fill in paperwork and look for jobs every day.
Yeah, you do, but it's very easy to fudge, and they don't
Right.
check up on it. You can go into an employment agency, and they don't care. They get a commission with the people that they have on, and they get some money for getting them off. But at the end of the day, they don't care. You go in every month for the meeting, and you'll hand in a form. They'll sign it. They'll have a look at it, and you'll be in and out in 5 minutes. They get paid by the amount of people they have on their books rather than getting them a job. So
I don't think that system's working
it's
very
a broken
much.
system, and
Well,
it's probably a whole completely different story. But
yeah, Well, I'm gonna, hopefully we hear back from those girls next year who've got a job and are doing completely different because they didn't get the doll. So
One can
thank
only
you,
hope.
Kyle, for the story.
No worries.
Coming up next, we have got Rachel Roberts with her story of rubbish bins and the world of getting your hands dirty, getting food. You're listening to Upstart Live with Matt Coburn and myself, Alana Mazurk. The time is 2:10, and we'll be having a quick break and we'll come back with Rachel.
Welcome back. The time is currently 2:11 and you're listening to Upstart Live. And we have a story, a really interesting story, about dumpster diving. Even the name will make your stomach churn. But this is for some a genuine life choice. With thousands of dollars of fresh produce being thrown away, many seem no harm in turning to their rubbish to get meals. Rachel Roberts has looked into this world for us this week. Rachel, let's hear your findings.
Yeah, well, thanks. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, roughly 1/3 of all food produced globally goes to waste. And because of this and a few other reasons, quite a number of people, especially young adults, have turned to dumpster diving as an answer to sustainability and a way to reduce waste. The act of dumpster diving is pretty much what it sounds like. A person will go through a dumpster, and particularly at the back of supermarkets or bakery, and take the food that's not been sold that otherwise is going to go to waste. Anyone who knows anyone who's worked at a bakery, since we all had teenage jobs, we probably know a few, we know that they're always coming home with more day-old bread than they could possibly eat. Some bakeries will organise with charity to give the leftovers to them, but most of the time that goes in the bin too. There's quite a community surrounding this act in Melbourne at the moment. Monash University, their dumpster diving group has over 90 members, and they share tips and tricks, and then they occasionally will just host a feast of all the food that they've got from dumpsters and that they've cooked up, and yeah, it sounds pretty fun. Latrobe also has a similar community. It's their ESP collective, which stands for Equality, Sustainability and Peace, and they do a pop-up co-op in the Agora, which you've probably all seen, where they share and donate food, clothes, textbooks, and then a lot of their members also dumpster dive on the regular. I'm not sure if it's my circles, but when I started trying to talk to people, I actually got a lot of responses of people who wanted to share their experience. Some of them identified with this thing called freeganism, which apparently is the ideology of a limited participation in conventional economy. And a private school friend of mine, who is quite well-to-do, said that he went dumpster diving with his friend and a girlfriend about 6 months ago. And his girlfriend was so horribly anxious about getting caught that when they went home and told their parents about what they did, his girlfriend just burst into tears with the shame of it all, which was quite unusual compared to the other people that I was talking to. But he said he'd still do it again just for the rush. Another woman contacted me who will be known only as Cassandra. She said she was dumpster diving in the US, but out of necessity. She was very, very hungry. And she found that the business owners were incredibly hostile to her and to anyone else who was trying to get food. They would lock the dumpsters or even pour bleach all over the food to poison it and stop people from eating it, even though they were starving. And the constant food insecurity and trauma has left her with an eating disorder. And I asked her what she thought of the idea of freeganism and sustainability and stuff. And she said it doesn't harm anyone, but she thinks it's definitely misguided, which is interesting to hear from someone who actually is doing it to survive.
Yeah.
The legality of this act is pretty contentious because of the term abandoned property. In Australia, there's no firm conclusion about is it actually possible to abandon your property. For instance, hard rubbish. We all do it. We all take stuff from hard rubbish. But this one guy was actually fined $900 for taking a couple of bikes that was left out the front.
Really?
Yeah. So be careful when you do that. It's generally up to the council about what they're doing, and I know Moreland Council, where I live, they assume ownership of anything that's left out on the nature strip for collection, so that is theirs, and you do have to be careful when you go to touch it, but I still do.
So the question is, if that's the case, what if somebody was to dumpster dive and eat food and
Yeah.
get sick from it, could they then have
I
a crack at the people?
Don't believe so, no, because it is abandoned property. They
Yeah.
are not selling it.
Right.
But also, of all the people I spoke to, that was not an issue. No one ever got sick. So
That's my first. That would be my first setback. I think that would hold me back from ever attempting it myself.
Well, we are also joined by Mia, who
Yeah,
is a
let's find out.
PhD
Hello,
student
Mia.
at La Trobe.
Hi, Mia.
And in Denmark, she did some dumpster diving. So tell us, what was it like in Denmark?
Well, I sort of, a few years back when I lived in Denmark, I was part of a community that was sort of a subculture where people did a lot of dumpster diving, some squatting, very active on the left wing. And I was friends with those people. And most of my friends were dumpster diving and free food. I mean, you
Yeah.
can definitely see the advantages of that when you're on a student budget. So I think I was doing it on and off for a few years, but I was never as active as my other friends.
So, like, was it more kind of similar to the scene we have in Melbourne where it was kind of like freeganism? Have you heard that term before?
Yeah, definitely. That was what my friends identified with. They were also vegans, but they would only eat dairy products if it had been from a dumpster.
Yeah, you know what? There was a guy.
That's
Wow,
weird.
That is very strange.
There was a guy who went to La Trobe, Nat, and
Yeah, I saw a story.
yeah, he
Oh,
dumpster
that's nice.
dives, and he's a vegetarian. But
Yeah.
if someone has thrown out meat,
Mm-hmm.
then it's fair game.
But then he's not a vegetarian because he eats meat.
But he's not buying meat. He's not supporting the industry,
Right.
right?
I guess to me that just doesn't make much sense. But I'm deep down an 80-year-old man, so who listens to talk back and doesn't understand any of this. So
So, what would you actually do? Like, how did you do it?
Well, it was different because some of the time, most people, they go out, they have like those kind of lights strapped to their heads and they sort of dig in. It's easier accessing the dumpsters in Denmark than it is in Australia, as I can see. I've never done it here, and I don't know the rules about food production here. So, because in Denmark, according to the law, you cannot sell it after it has expired, even though that it's still edible. So that means that you'll find a lot of good food in the dumpster. But I don't. Because I don't know about that here, I haven't done it anyway. But the dumpsters are way more accessible, so it's just about digging in, pulling out the black. They're usually in these kind of big black plastic bags. Sorry, my English. I don't know what they're called.
that's
Like-
big plastic bags.
That's what we call them.
Yeah, and just sort of like finding your way through it.
It sounds so. It's like it just sounds so
Gross?
gross.
I had
Yeah.
a question. Is the food packaged or is it in
It's usually packaged. It's like, you know, when it comes, like you buy broccoli and it's wrapped in plastic already. Like I would never have taken anything that wasn't wrapped in plastic actually,
Right.
but that's
that
just
makes,
me.
That's different.
because
yeah.
You know, you don't know about animals, rats, whatever, and rats can be pretty vile. But I was also working in a supermarket for a while, and we sort of had a cooperation going on with the dumpster divers without the boss of the supermarket knowing it. So we would like package the trash for people and like make sure that that it was accessible, no bleach, no anything, and not thrown in with like dirty stuff or anything. And people really appreciated that. And we would send out text messages to the network. Oh, there's free meat.
Wow,
We're throwing out
it
meat.
sounds like it's really coming up, and from what Rachel said, like
Yeah.
you've spoken to so many people that are so open about it. It's obviously helping a lot of people. So
Yeah, maybe I'll get into it. I'm actually considering it now that I
Do
know
it,
that there are so
yeah.
many friends.
It'd be interesting. We'd love to hear back
yeah,
about it.
we'll come back to you, Rach, with an update of your dumpster diving adventures. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mia, very much for coming in,
No worries.
and Rachel for that wonderful story. You're listening to Upstart Live. It's 2:20, and we'll be back soon to talk to Dane Roy and his ridiculous kicking and lucky $250,000 scholarship that Matt or I could never get.
Cannot wait. Speak for yourself.
The realm of college sports is something we as a nation really miss out on. These athletes are truly icons of their towns. Even at a high school level, stadiums are packed with everyone from that town, and the players are treated like superstars. Their play leads to scholarships and incredible opportunities as they play to thousands upon thousands of individuals. Dane Roy is one of those individuals. This Aussie superstar has gone from punting the footy here at home to playing for the Houston College team in front of 70,000 people. We are actually lucky to have Dane Roy on the phone here with us all the way from Houston, Texas.
Can we hear him?
Hi, Dane.
Yeah, speaking.
Oh, hi. Oh, my goodness. I didn't realize it was 10:15 in Houston.
That's all right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I know it's not the perfect time at all, and it's weird that it's like it's Monday and it's Tuesday here. I don't think I could ever wrap my head around that. Hey, so I saw on Twitter
It
you got...
confuses me sometimes.
Yeah, no, well, I saw on Twitter you got to watch the Hawks lose, sucked in, go Dogs. So how do
I
you...
didn't get to watch that. I just watched some highlights. And
Oh.
As soon as I wake up in the morning, I check the scores, and I was like, yes, the Hawks lost.
I
Finally,
know.
I'm going to win a Premier League.
Finally, 3 years and go away. It's nothing to do with the fact that we don't like Hawthorn. It's just the fact that I want to see someone else in the grand final for once.
Yeah, I'd be happy to see a different team win every year, really.
Yeah, I know.
Spread it out.
Well, hopefully Doggies get up, but I'm a Crow supporter, so I'm pretty disappointed from Saturday. But anyway.
That's why I'm a Swan supporter, so
Oh,
I'm pretty happy.
no! You'll be happy. I also saw that you got some of the other teammates to try Vegemite. Don't tell me you did the thing where it was like a teaspoon of Vegemite. We actually had to put butter on it and spread it thin. Did you do that, or did you give them a teaspoon?
Yes, definitely spread it thin. I
Good.
found a few bagels in the cafe we've got for us athletes. So then I just gave it to a few of the guys.
What they think?
And, no, they didn't like it. It was too confusing for them. They're like, oh, it looks like Nutella, but it doesn't taste like it.
It's not Nutella. No, it's completely
You know how
different.
in Australia we say something, if it's not sweet, that it's savoury. That's like what you'd say in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't have that saying because they're like, well, it's not savoury either. And I'm like, well, it's not sweet.
Well, it's
It
not
has to be
savoury.
savoury.
Exactly. It's either or.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's bitter. And it
Oh,
was bitter. And I was like, well,
it's
why stop thinking too much? It's not sweet, so it has to be savoury.
So I saw that you got your stripe removed last week, and I didn't understand what that meant. So when you have a black stripe on your helmet, it shows that the coach doesn't believe that you're quite ready to play. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're all blue stripes.
Blue
so,
stripes.
Because we don't have blue in our colours, so there's a blue stripe and it stands out on your helmet. It means you haven't played a game if you're still wearing one, or you haven't proven to the coaches that you've got to the next level.
And so what was that
So,
like, getting that removed finally?
I was waiting for that to happen. I was like, because I went through fall camp with it on. A lot of my teammates in the special teams still have it on, and because they haven't played a game yet, and they don't really get the opportunity in training to get it off. It's mainly because we only have a few times to go out and train in front of everyone. The other guys who play all the different positions, they've got plenty of chances because they just need to go run really hard into someone, lay a good tackle, or catch a few balls consistently.
Yeah.
So they've got easy opportunities to take it off. But if you're on a special teams like a punter or a kicker, the only time you really get it off is if you beat someone in a wrestling drill or you play a game.
I was going to say, Dane,
You have the opportunity to play a game.
are there quite a few other punters that are vying for a spot? Is there a constant competition with you?
I'm lucky in the position I am at the moment. My backup is the backup quarterback.
Oh,
So he's there just in case I get injured. So
Very
touch
lucky.
wood that I don't get injured.
yeah, no, seriously, I'm
but,
touching wood, don't worry.
But usually at in college level, there's 2 or 3 punters that
Okay.
are vying for that position. I know there's a few of guys who come from Melbourne, and they're competing as we speak for a punting position.
Well, I read that your dad taught you how to kick torpedoes as a kid, and so does that mean that NFL, is that a big sport in your family? I know it's quite prevalent in Melbourne, but you're from Bunyip. I wasn't sure if NFL was a big deal in your family and that's how it came about.
No, NFL's never been a big deal, really. Dad taught me how to kick torpedoes with the Aussie rules football. So,
is it very different?
Playing
the Aussie rules football to the...
Easier to kick a Sharon. It's much easier to kick a Sharon because of the sweet spot is bigger, and the ball's bigger, and it's less pointy as well. So trying to hit the gridiron, the pigskin as they call it, is much harder to do because the ball is pointier and it's smaller, and the sweet spot is harder to find. So there's been a few more missed kicks than I'd want, but that's what we practice for.
It's part of the practice. So I can imagine running out onto the ground in Houston for the first time was just a tad bit different to running out on a ground in Bendigo. How do you control your emotions running out to play in front of 70,000 fans? Were the nerves just wearing you down?
I think I was more nervous on the bus ride to the stadium because I just kept thinking about where I'd come from and what I was doing, and how proud I was that my family were actually going to watch me. And when the bus rolled up, we had a police escort, like a few police cars and several motorbikes. That was something to see. And we got to walk through like about 3,000 people lining up from the bus to the stadium. And just seeing all those people there and seeing my family look at me, look at all these people was like, wow. And so I got pretty emotional on the bus, but as you got to do, you've got to get the job done. So then I tuned back in, saw my family, gave them a hug on the way in, and then it was all green lights after that. And when it was my turn to go out front,
nailed it.
I head down, ran out to my mark, and then I looked up a little bit, but wanted to get the job done first, and then got my punt away, and then had a look, and I was pretty happy with the result.
Is it like the movies? We see college football and we see that it's such a big deal, but to us AFL fans or soccer fans in Australia, I don't think we understand the enormity of what college sport in America is like. Is it really huge? Is it that big?
Yeah, college football is huge in America. It is bigger than AFL, I reckon, because there's more people supporting this. There is a team for everyone. There's like multiple teams per state and per area. So, and obviously people have supported their college like when they went there themselves. And obviously if they've got a child going to a different college, they're going to support that. And, so every college game has a big crowd, like whether it goes from 25,000 to 105,000. It's still a big crowd.
Yeah.
And on Saturday night in America, you check on a TV in a bar or a club or a casino, and they've got rows and rows of TVs all with live football, and it's all college football.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to bed because it's so late there in Houston. But thank you so much for talking to us, Dean. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Anything for the community radio.
Yes, and good luck. Good luck with the rest of the season.
No worries. Thanks for
Bye,
that.
Dane.
Thank you for that, Alana.
That more wins on the board.
Yes, go for it.
Thanks.
And thank you for Dane Roy for taking the time.
That was a truly fascinating interview. Thank you for that. Next, it is 29 past 2 and you are listening to Upstart Live. If you've just tuned in or if you're a regular listener, you probably already know that. My name is Matt Coburn and I'm joined with Alana Mazurek.
And we're here every Tuesday.
Everyone.
Except for next week.
Should definitely listen in. It is a fantastic show.
Yeah.
This next segment is something very close to my heart. It's a story about the power of positivity. It's something that's incredibly important, and I've based it on pretty much two acronyms. POP, Power of Positivity, and PMA, which stands for positive mental attitude, which, if you believe it or not, our multimedia producer Jake over here has actually got it tattooed on his leg.
I'm gonna believe it now because he's literally showing us.
Come around, Jake. Let's have a look at this.
Pull your pants
Up.
not down.
Freudian slip there.
Oh.
If you can see that. PMA, positive mental
Yeah.
attitude.
And how long ago did you get that?
2 years.
He said 2 years. 2 years ago.
So the reason I wanted to do this segment is I did a year of psychology, and it was before I joined the media department. Thank God I've changed. It is so much better than the media department. Sorry to the psychology people. But when you study it, you realize that there's a huge amount that is only based on the negative. And if you look in psychology as a study, psychology has been studied in its infant form since ancient Greece. It wasn't called that, but the study of the mind. But only in 1999 has a new stream of psychology been founded called positive psychology, which instead of looking at treating mental illness, looks at living a positive and fulfilling life, not to get mental illness, which is crazy when you think about it, because that's really the way we should be looking at it from the start, and actually avoid it instead of treating.
Mm-hmm.
And even crazier when you think about the fact that stress and negativity actually makes you sick.
Yes.
So us as humans have our beautiful fight or flight complex, which when we are stuck in an incredibly stressful situation, our body elicits cortisol, which is a hormone that helps you get that extra burst of energy. So back in evolutionary times, if a cheetah's running after you or something's trying to kill you, you can get away from it. But us living our lives, we're continually...
For cheetahs running out.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends if you're in Africa. I'm not totally sure. But if you're eliciting this hormone all the time, it's actually hardening your arteries and leading to diseases and whatnot. So this is what actual stress is doing.
I've been hospitalized for stress.
Really?
Yeah, my tummy, there was something wrong. It was like lymph nodes came everywhere. It was this huge stress reaction.
Around exam times?
No, I don't really get fazed by exams like that. It's just life and work, and I didn't realize. I thought I had appendicitis, and it turns out I've just caused myself a severe amount of stress. But at least my hair didn't fall out.
Yeah,
that's all that
that's
matters.
always
I can
a
be
good
in hospital
start.
for a couple of days.
But this is why the whole idea of having a positive outlook at everything is really important. But something I find interesting is it's a bit harder to quantify in research, but the idea that having a positive outlook will help you treat actual illnesses.
Right.
Which is something that is harder to quantify because sadly people do pass away if an illness is
Is it
really
similar to how there has actually been studies showing that having a pet, patting a pet, and that releasing those endorphins
Yeah.
in that way, alleviates stress? And so you're doing it from another perspective of your own mind.
Yes. I actually met up with a wonderful lady named Natalia who started a initiative called Laughter with Cancer. It's a whole idea that she had serious illness and that she has used this positive outlook to help her. Here's the bit of the interview.
My name is Natalia Deviani. So I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. A lot of people, when I said that, they say like, you what? Because no one knows about it. So sarcoma is quite rare, and what I've got is quite rare. I was diagnosed on the 25th of May 2015. It was a bit surreal to hear that you've got cancer. I think a lot of people that's gone through cancer will experience that as well. It actually takes time for it to sink in, that you've got cancer, because a lot of people associate cancer with death. My advice is that, because you know your body best, right? So if you feel that something is not right, go get it checked. Please go get it checked. And then get second opinion, third opinion if you need to. It's better to be safe than sorry, and to have it like dealt with early. So yeah, when something big happens in your life and you realize that okay, something has to change, because you live your life for yourself. At the end of the day, this is your life. You have to do something that makes you joyful. You have to do something that that means to you. Because if you're living other people's expectation, other people's wish, then there will always be hollow in your heart. What's going on inside it has so much power to connect with what's going on outside, right? So if you can have great perspective, if you can have inner strength. It doesn't matter what happens on the outside. You will be okay. Stress it's true though, like stress, there is already a link found between stress and cancer. That if you already have cancer and you have stress, the cancer will spread a lot faster. Because often what makes people stress is, it's what's going on here. And if I could share the tools that I have to, whether it's cancer patients or whether it is everyday people that's going through life struggles, like I'm a living example that it doesn't matter what happens in life. If you can create a positive meaning to it, then you will have a positive experience, right? Yeah.
It is 36 past 2, and you are listening to Upstart Live. Thank you all for listening. That was just a story that Matt Coburn, filed. I am Matt Coburn, this is Alana Mazurik, and I filed that on the power of positivity. And if you enjoyed that, there's more of that interview with Natalia, and we'll be going further into her future work and the work that she's been doing in later episodes.
A new trip has been offered by Ceres, focusing on community development in India. This will offer a 10-day adventure through all regions of India for university students. We will have Sophie Edwards, the coordinator of the project, with us in a moment, but first we have Georgie Meadows to explain this great initiative.
CERES stands for the Centre of Education and Research in Environmental Strategies and is a non-for-profit community business that works to educate people in the areas of sustainability, environment, community development and social equity. CERES has partnered with international organisations to create CERES Global, an initiative that invites people of all ages to participate in cross-cultural programs in overseas countries. The upcoming trip will be to India in January 2017 to coincide with the Asset-Based Community Development Festival in Goa. The aim of the trip is to build on and challenge our notions of community development and what it means to be a practitioner, student, or participating citizen in this area. Hey guys, it's Georgie Meadows here. Apologies for my quite raspy voice. I've got a bit of tonsillitis going on, but bear with me. We're all pleased to have Sophie Edwards, the CERES Global Coordinator, on the phone with us to further discuss the upcoming trip to India. Are you there,
Hello,
Sophie?
yes.
Hi, how are you going?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, Sophie, may you please explain for our listeners what CERES Global is and what these overseas trips aim to do and who they aim to engage?
Sure. So CERES Global is actually a part of the CERES Community Environment Park in East Brunswick. So it's an environmental park that's was established in the 70s in Melbourne, and it's very much, for those people who know it, it's very much a place where people come to get inspired and learn about sustainable living and the environment, etc. And we have a whole bunch of different projects that we do there. One of them is CERES Global, and we've been around for about 10 years now. And what we aim to do is sort of spread the work that CERES does beyond its Melbourne borders. So we're all about building friendships with partner organisations overseas, creating dialogue, and then eventually creating projects together that we develop. So it can be anything from water filtration projects in remote villages in Samoa to sustainable building design in India, or et cetera, et cetera.
Fantastic.
And so we also take people with us on sort of I guess you could call them socio-environmental cross-cultural exchanges, and it's an opportunity for people to learn, exchange ideas, and for us we take a lot of university students as well, and our aim really is to challenge and motivate young people to then take on this knowledge, cross-cultural knowledge and environmental and sustainable knowledge that can then influence them in their futures, in the jobs that they choose to do, and how they choose to participate in their daily life back in Australia. So, yeah.
Great. And so the next upcoming trip is in January 2017, is that right, to India?
Actually, we've got in between now and then. We've got a trip to Samoa. We've got 2 or 3 other trips to January. 3 other trips to India, and a trip to Cuba.
Between now and this January?
Yeah.
Amazing. And how is the participation looking?
Well, quite a few of them have students on them, so they're specifically for students from different disciplines. So we have an IT social impact one in India, which is all about doing IT work in India in remote schools specifically.
Yep.
We have a tradie one where we're taking students studying trades in TAFE to go over and help build our prototype sustainable house in India. And we've got one
sorry,
for
pardon me
Samoa
to interrupt. It's
anyway.
It's the asset-based community development festival. Is that what the India trip is going to coincide with? That's in Goa, yeah?
Yeah, so we were really inspired actually when we heard about this festival. So asset-based community development is a sort of philosophy around community development where you try and focus rather than on how community development often focuses on the needs of a community. This one focuses on the assets and develops communities through actually what they're good at. And
right.
So it's just a nice twist, I guess, turning of the tables and twisting the ideas of how we usually focus on the negatives and the needs.
Yeah.
And
well, it sounds
turning
like
that around.
not in an attempt to oversimplify the amazing work that you're doing, but it's that, cliche of teach a man to fish. It sounds, you're acknowledging the incredible competency and possibilities in these communities, and then just helping them realise their own potential. Would that be an accurate statement?
It's definitely that. It's definitely trying to turn that around and very much assisting communities to run their own initiatives and what they actually want. So rather than coming in and identifying from your perspective and your worldview what you think someone needs, but really, that's why we're starting from a place of friendship and then working, I guess, where possible, enabling the communities to do, to make change how they see their community needs to, with a particular focus on what they're already good at and what assets they hold, because every community holds, assets.
Well, it sounds wonderful that, we can inspire and empower these communities rather than kind of bombard them with what we as external kind of, third parties think is best. Also third parties from a more developed,
exactly.
nation, I guess.
And, we have a really nice example. We go up to Arnhem Land, which is a region of Aboriginal-owned land in Australia where people are still very much living on country. And so we go up to this region, so it's in the Northern Territory east of Darwin. And there we work with a group of Indigenous ladies who actually want to share their skills in basket weaving. So they've got incredible skill in weaving these most beautiful baskets out of pandanus, and these are very old cultural traditions. And so what we do with them is so this is something they really want to do to sort of empower their community and bring meaningful employment onto their community. And then the role we take in them, assisting them in doing that is to then organise for people to go up there and do basket weaving workshops with them. So this is a very good example of how you can use someone's assets and what someone finds important to then assist them into sort of being able to create sustainable employment and a meaningful exchange around it and that cross-cultural interaction as well.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Sophie. And we'll
My
be sure
pleasure.
to spread the word of the upcoming trips for Series Global.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks for that, Georgie, and for talking to Sophie Edwards as well, for coming in and talking to us. So we'll be back soon. Our next story, we'll have Denise Uzgun, the Deputy Editor of Upstart.net.au, to come in and talk to us all about what's happening on the Upstart website. So in the studio with us, we have Denise Uskin, one of the deputy editors for Upstart.net.au. How are you going?
I'm going very well. How are you?
And so you've got some stories
Yes,
for us listeners and in the studio today.
that's right. We'll start off with Matt Marasco's piece called Left and Right Wing Politicking. It's a timely piece coming off the back of Pauline Hanson's obviously maiden speech, which caused some controversy in the Senate last week.
It was shocking.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
His article argues that reconciling the right's patriotism and the left's egalitarianism may be one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century. The main issue in the piece is immigration and how there's like polarizing views on both sides, left and right. He says that left and right wing politics are at a boiling point, but that collective frustration must find some common ground.
Yeah, definitely. Do you believe the heavy anti-Islam or otherwise racist messages can spill into how the public might view the right wing as their agenda in general? Like, can that change? Like, the heavy anti-Islam, which is racist,
Yeah.
to an extent, it can change how Australians feel about politicians and the right wing agenda.
Yeah, it certainly is polarizing, and I think you can say that, you know, groups like Reclaim Australia, the True Blue Crew, and Love Australia or Leave, or the United Patriots Fronts, they're kind of anti-establishment parties as well. So there's also a disenfranchisement towards the major political parties, so Labor and Liberal. I think it stems from, opposition against those two parties as well.
Speaking of all these parties like True Blue Crew and Reclaim Australia, do you
Yep.
think overseas and looking in that we're starting to get create a negative stereotype for Australians?
I think though it's this sort of rhetoric in Australia we're seeing that in the Western world too. So, Matt, he pointed out that anti-Semitism was pervasive in the 1930s Europe, and now 100 years later, that same sentiment has shifted to anti-Islam. So it's not just Australia we're seeing this; it's in the Western world as well.
Well, now to a completely different story.
Much lighter topic.
Yeah,
A little bit
mushrooms and fungi.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all encountered them, and we're told not to eat them unless you want to go on like a crazy adventure in the woods, or if they're on a pizza, albeit. Something about fungus being unappreciated.
Yeah, even when Luke he pitched this idea to us in the editorial meeting, I just sort of went like, "What?" I mean, it has such a negative connotation, especially in English-speaking nations, because it's viewed as something unpleasant or something we want to get rid of. It reminded me of like fungal infection. That's what it reminds me of.
Gross.
But yeah, as opposed to that, it has such a crucial role in our environment by connecting terrestrial ecosystems and all that sort of stuff. And also one thing that was interesting is a lot of European nations embrace fungi, and it's also very embraced in East Asian and Venezuelan Amazon regions as well. So as opposed to English, it has a strong place in Aboriginal culture as well, fungi.
So the story talks about how fungi and mushrooms are being underrepresented in Australia in regards to eating or utilising them for something else. Is it just eating? Because I love mushrooms. I'm pretty sure I'm keeping the mushroom.
Truffles.
Keeping the business going.
I think it has also some positive benefits to like medicine,
The
body
ecosystem.
decoration. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that,
No problem.
Denise. Make sure that you go and have a look at those stories
Go
written
eat
by
a
all the...
mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are now listening to Upstart Live. I am Matt Coburn with Alana Mazurek. The time is 19 to 3, and we broadcast live at 2 p.m. every Tuesday on upstart.net.au. If you want to listen to us, you definitely should. Coming up, Morgan and Josh, our resident sporting experts, will be in to discuss everything to do with AFL Finals Series.
So we're back with Hit or Miss today with Morgan and Josh. How are you guys going?
Very well.
Got a big finals wrap up for us. Please don't talk about the Crows.
We're going to have to, I'm sorry. We're going to have to. The Crows, they lost to Sydney on the
Yeah,
weekend.
Josh, we know.
And now the Swans play Geelong on Friday night, Morgan.
Yes, they do. That'll be such an interesting match-off because we've got Sydney coming off a six-day break and Geelong having played their last match 14 days ago.
It's a fairly big difference, and the Cats, as we know, also have a few selection issues.
Yep.
Lockie Henderson is almost certain to come back.
Yep.
But then the debate is who gets dropped for Henderson, and
Yeah.
a name that's been thrown up is a Brownlow medalist and a 3-time premiership player, Jimmy Bartel.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jimmy?
I can see why they're doing it, but it's such a tough call for such a veteran, he embodies Geelong, and to get rid of him in a final series is a bit...
It could be a selection that Chris Scott, the coach, might be judged for, in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether or not this could potentially be Jimmy's last season.
Yeah.
And so he could end with that qualifying final win. That might be his last game. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they finished 10th last season, Geelong, and have had a pretty good season, I have to say.
Yeah.
Coming off the back of that.
They're going extremely strongly, so that'll be very interesting to see how they go.
And the Swans, the minor premiers, I was delighted to see that they didn't go out in straight sets.
Yeah.
And now they might get Kurt Tippett back this week, but obviously huge injury concerns over Jared McVeigh and Gary Rowan.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how they can cover the loss of those players.
Well, Rowan looked pretty awful.
Yeah.
I have had talk that McVeigh might come back in. Not sure though. We'll see what they do with that. But Sydney's midfield is just superb. You've got Hennebury, Parker, Kieran Jack. Brilliant. You can't get much better, and I could see them just rolling over Geelong.
You could see that?
I can see that, yeah.
Well, the depth has been good. The head-to-head record in finals between these two teams is 3 matches, and the Swans have won all 3, including that famous victory in 2005.
Yeah.
Nick Davis kicked a couple of goals in the last
Nick
quarter.
Davis, yeah.
And earlier this year, the Swans beat the Cats at Simmons Stadium by 38 points.
Yep.
Where Tom Mitchell tagged Paddy Dangerfield.
Yeah.
And kept him a bit quiet
Very
in the last 3 quarters. So that's an interesting point of reference to go on.
Yeah.
But I think the Cats deserve to go in as favourites.
They do. And over in
Yeah.
Spotless Stadium, we've got GWS playing the Dogs.
It's an interesting one. It's the Giants' debut final series, and all of a sudden they're going into favourites into a grand final.
Yeah.
But they will be without Steve Johnson.
They will, which will be interesting because it really lowers their experience.
Absolutely. Oh, especially finals experience, which we all put in high regard.
Yeah.
But the Bulldogs is really the story of the week, I think, after their awesome victory on Friday night over the Hawks.
Yep, reigning premiers. 3 times.
We're all very disappointed to see them.
Extremely disappointed.
And they've really had lots of injuries this season, the Bulldogs, so they'll be delighted to come this far. Liberatore, Wood, Johannesson, Jong and Adams have all missed large chunks of the year, while Bob Murphy and Mitch Wallace are out for the season.
Huge credit to their coach, Luke Beveridge, for really sticking to it and having that depth to pick up new players when they need it.
It says great things about their depth.
Absolutely. As we know, their last final series was against Hawthorn in 61.
Yeah, history is not on the Dogs' side here.
It's not at all.
And they've lost their last 7 preliminary finals and, as you said, haven't made a grand final since 1961.
Yep, and their only final, 1954.
Yeah.
Their one and only flag.
That's right. Earlier this year, though, they played once this year. The Giants won by 25 points at Spotless Stadium in round 9. Interesting, Jeremy Cameron had a good day that day.
Yeah.
And in the head-to-head, the Dogs have 4 wins and the Giants have 2. So very interesting to see what's going to happen there.
Extremely interesting.
Well, the worry is if as soon as Jeremy Cameron's on form, you've got to worry. Here's the main worry.
Very dynamic player.
But then you've got Caleb Daniel, and he's like a little pocket rocket, and nobody can get him on G. I don't think anybody can match up with him well on GWS.
And let's not forget the Bond.
The Bond.
Oh, yeah.
No one can
the
forget
legend. The Bond.
Well, thank you guys for that finals wrap up. It's 6 minutes to 3. You're listening to Upstart Live with Matt Coburn and myself, Alana Mazurk. We'll be back in a second for The Cut with Jake and Georgie.
Hey guys, Georgie Meadows here, and I'm here with Jake Kohler, The Cut regular. How are you going?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, I've realised with 3 shows to go, Jake, we are yet to discuss music, and we claim to be a pop culture segment. And we've only discussed TV and film.
Well,
shame on us.
Yes.
Absolute shame.
I mean, there's a lot of different
Thanks,
versions
man.
of pop culture, but I think we should definitely keep it wide to popular culture.
Yes.
And as a whole.
As a whole, which includes music.
So what were you planning for today with the music?
Well, I thought maybe we would just do a bit of an icebreaker, like discuss, what was your first album, first concert you went to,
Okay,
and then we can go from there.
Me.
Well, I was going to say with our age difference, I think it'll be.
No, it's still going to be embarrassing.
What's that? No, not as embarrassing as me.
Okay, first album, Men in Black. That's cool.
That is cool.
I'll accept that.
I'm talking concerts here though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my first concert was Avril Lavigne.
Ooh.
No, wait, you're kidding.
The wrong answer.
2003, 2004?
Yeah.
That was my second concert. My first concert was The Wiggles, and I was in the mosh pit. I was 3.
Yep.
And that was pretty rad. But oh my, that's crazy. That was my Avril Lavigne was my second concert.
Yeah, I was there.
That's so
My first album ever, LD50, My Mudvayne, so as metal as you get.
Oh, hey.
No idea what that is.
That's new metal.
Yeah,
but,
new metal.
New metal.
And my mum took me to see Dream Theater when I was about 14, and she was headbanging in the crowd. It
Yeah.
was just brilliant.
Well, they're quite theatrical, so
Absolutely.
very very accessible as well for parents. But what was your album?
My first album, it's more embarrassing than going to an Avril Lavigne concert. My first album was Nikki Webster.
Yeah.
Strawberry Kisses.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it. It was a birthday gift, but it was my anthem for ages 7 till 9.
Yeah. I remember that came out, I think I was at grade 6 or year 7.
Yeah.
And we just ripped on it all the time.
I was about to be and you bought it and listened to it on repeat too?
No,
God,
that's
soulmates.
that's when I had Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish.
Classic album.
okay.
Yeah, classic album.
Yeah, I have terrible taste in music.
So in terms of the Emmys as well,
yes.
music wins.
Music wins. So the winner of Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics was Lady Gaga's Till It Happens to You, which was the theme song to The Hunting Ground.
I've never heard of that song. I've
never heard of that song until when I YouTubed it last night. And the lyrics itself, they're pretty self-explanatory, but the footage is effective. Wait, does everyone know Hunting Ground, the documentary about, the girls in America?
We actually covered that last semester on this show. So
yes. I'm new to the team.
Very aware of it.
Well, we are very excited. The Cut, Uncut this week. We're going to go into more depth and some more details about that. That's on 2 p.m. Fridays.
It is, yes.
And
with Adam.
Adam and Dan as well. And it's I think our flow is pretty good, and everyone should.
We're having a
watch
great time. We just hope people listening are having half as much fun as we are.
Definitely. So back
that
to you, Matt.
Thank you very much. And definitely check out The Cut Uncut, a very, very enjoyable show. It is currently 2 minutes to 3, and we are very close to being out of time for this. So we will
be back in
a second.
I just want to say, Matt, you've done an amazing job. Congratulations on your first show co-hosting. Who? No, I'm just kidding. And I want to thank everybody that's been on the show today. Kyle Humphreys, Dane Rowe for waking up at 10:30 at night in Houston and talking to me. I think, we've really got to appreciate his time and efforts. Rachel Roberts and Mia for coming in and talking about that. What was that story? I still have to wrap my head around that.
I'm not
story.
really wanting to dumpster dive anytime soon. I'm not going to lie.
And Matt, your power of positivity, and Jake for getting your rig out.
Our first show has been absolutely wonderful. Also, thank you, Harsha, for doing the vision switching. That has been wonderful. And
we've got a few newbies around.
Thanks.
It's been very
but
good.
I cannot wait to come back next week. Not next week. We'll actually be taking a break next week due to the uni holidays and be back the week after. So then you can get all your Upstart knowledge from there, but also the Cut Uncut is this Friday.
I also have to thank Sophie Edwards for the phone interview. That was really good, Georgie. And as always, Denise for coming in with Upstart. And Matt, I'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll do another great job, if
see
not
you in 2
better.
weeks. Peace.